Please stay with us.
Hi, Darrell. Okay. Well, I guess we'll open the meeting up. Today is December 2nd, 3:02, and we're discussing the budgets today.
Call the roll. Mr. Genowine?
Yep.
Mr. Crandall?
Here.
Mr. Mahoney?
Here.
Simcoe? Here.
The first one we're going to have today is the Road and Bridge Fund.
Okay.
We can double team my seat down. Sorry to say, this will be Greg's last.
I'll bet he'll miss these meetings.
Yeah. Next year, he's in Florida. So with that, I'll turn it over to Scott, and Scott will kind of mention the revenue a little bit. And this one's a little bit more tricky because they have different sources of revenue than just the property taxes, basically. And a couple funds within the Road and Bridge Fund can be used only for certain things, and we'll talk about those.
All right, packet you have, the first page is the 5-year projection, and that's followed by 3 pages of the line-by-line detail. And then we have the Road and Bridge Capital Project Fund, and then the last 2 pages are just a breakdown of the future projects and the contracts. On the 5-year projection, we use the rates approved in the contract for 2016, assume the health insurance at 10%, and property tax, again, we use the county auditor's number, that went up by 5%, but up for the future years, I just use 2%. On the expenditure side, budgeted for the raise in the union contract, 10% healthcare. Most other line items are the same level as last year, unless we, can we look at the detail if we want to invest for that. The big differences you'll find are the OPWC local share is down 200,000 from last year, and the non-OPWC projects, we're going to be doing twice as many of those as we did last year. So that's, if you look on the last page, you see that the local share is budgeted at 260 versus 460 last year, and then the non-OPWC projects is budgeted at 500,000 versus 200,000 last year. The only items out of the capital projects from this year are 2 pieces of equipment, the John Deere tractor and the leaf loader, over $70,000. First, you guys can talk about that. Okay.
Well, yeah, I was going to say,
The projects, and then we kind of explain that funding a little bit.
I got a couple questions. Benefits. We're adding 10% a year. Any reason?
just, this year was 9.6, I think, so.
But we know we had an issue last year. I mean, do we expect that every year for the next 5 years? Or what's the national trends telling us? Or did anybody look at that? Or we just based it off last year and then
No, we're
said,
basing it on what we've read. It's hard to tell, but everything I've read is 10% is not an unreasonable number to project.
where'd you see that?
Just articles I read, Wall Street Journal, various, I don't want to say healthcare magazines, but articles in magazines about healthcare.
Okay.
Basically what they're talking about, private companies, what's happening to them. The issue we had for last year, and this year also, is really not affecting the increase through medical mutual because they've excluded that. And we're paying that directly. So.
But still hits us.
Yeah, oh, yeah, it's there, but.
Yes.
But that's what we're looking at, and, you know, I'd rather be overemphasize it than under it, so if next year it's at 8, we're in better shape. I just hate to project out 5%,
Yeah.
and it comes in at 8 or 9, and all of a sudden, what happened here?
Okay. Because I haven't seen that. I've seen most, you know, with the new Obamacare or whatever, they are trying to stabilize it. And I know you guys have done a great job in the last couple of years in stabilizing it, and you have one year like last year, and you're back in the hot water again.
Right.
But I was just curious as where
Well,
you
some
got
of,
that.
you know, they're trying to stabilize it, but the problem, and I don't want to get political with Obamacare, is, you know, we're covering kids to 26, whether they live at home or not, so, I mean, we expanded the pool that we have to cover,
Yeah.
and have to cover more items. And a lot of those items, you know, it's good for the employee, they go in, there's no charge for a healthy checkup. Well, they don't see the charge, we see the charge.
Yeah. And under benefits, you go to the next page, and that covers the longevity, overtime, retirement, or not overtime, but retirement, Medicare. Is that all included in that benefit, or if you're looking at page 1 and then you go to page 2 under expenses?
Yeah, it starts with retirement and goes down through the unemployment line, which is not true.
On page 3. Yes. Okay. I wasn't sure. Thank you.
Any other questions before Rob starts? And,
Yeah, well, just, I see the tool rentals going up. I think that's a good thing. You know? It means we're renting equipment and doing more, or we're not purchasing the equipment because we don't use it enough. So I don't think it's a negative. I think it's a positive.
Part of the reasoning for the major increase on that as well is that in the past, we had a shared agreement with Lucas County, and they provided us the front-end loader for the season, for the winter season, to
Oh.
salt, and they used our facility. Last year, they discontinued that operation, and we were forced to rent that piece of equipment for ourselves.
Oh,
Right, because of the McCord Road location, they moved closer, so
Yeah.
therefore they don't need our outpost to.
I didn't realize, I didn't know that.
We did basically a share, they would use our salt and then return it at a later date.
Yeah, and they left their end loader
In
here.
return, they left the end loader here, and we didn't have to purchase that.
We'll be renting it, right?
So this year, the increase, part of the increase in that is a rental, plus I factored in an additional rental for excavation of ditches. This is really one of those.
And then your salaries contractual, that's mainly leaf pickup?
Be temporary help,
But is it just leaf pickup, or
be spring.
are there other things I don't?
brushing.
Yeah, it's basically it. And again, that's a good thing. If we had employees there year round, I don't think it's a negative. Okay.
Speaking of brush pickup, are we planning for how many for next year?
We generally do one in the fall, one in the spring.
So
and
two,
one in
and
the fall,
we're
so
still
it'd be
planning on that.
two.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but that is paid for by the general fund. Correct?
Yes. Yeah,
The transfer.
transfer.
And the reason is because you guys can't use your funds for the brush.
Well, road and bridge,
Yeah.
well, I don't know about levy. Is that limited, the levy funds? I know road and bridge you can, or
Well, the only levy fund they have is that small inside village.
yeah,
They don't have
that's
any
what I
levy.
meant. Yeah, is that limited though? I don't know.
No, the inside village would not be limited. Okay, now.
Okay, some of the resurfacing projects, major projects would be the OPWC project. There is a 34% grant contribution on that. That was awarded for 2016. Our local share for the $543,000 total projected cost is $259,296. That's our local share. So That area is the Loggers Run, Black Swan Drive, Cedarberry. It's up there off of Sylvania Met, the very western end of the township. And then that would also include the inland Menora, Santa Barbara off Brent. Those areas just received new storm sewer, so the roads are a bit chopped up and works out in favor of us to go in there at this time and redo the roads.
Are those are fairly new subdivisions, aren't they? Way west, you mean?
The Loggers Run area is, they're some of the newer subdivisions, the roads are still in fairly bad shape. I don't know if it was bad mix at the time, or a good majority of the issue up there is the clay base in the base of the road.
Is it a mill and fill, or what?
It's a mill
Is
and
that
fill.
what it is? Boy, that seems early to me.
It's
Cheap developers.
Yeah.
this is all engineered by Lucas County.
Yeah, I know
Lucas
that.
County engineers. So,
Hey, Greg, you know, in Meriwether, that chip and seal project you guys did 3 or 4 years ago, is that, we did 2 projects with that process. Is there any other interest in going back and doing those?
I have a
Rob, sorry, didn't mean to not.
It's okay.
Yeah.
I was going to get to that, but
Oh,
you
okay.
mentioned it. There is a silica road. We did a embankment and a what would we call it? Shoulder cleanup this year, preparation for next year's. We're going to use a micro emulsification on that. That's a $50,000 estimated project, and that would be both lanes from Centennial to Sylvania of that whole project. It's very heavily commercial drive, but very light residential area, so I think it's a great application. The road is wider, therefore you won't have the overlapping in the center line and the humping. A good visual reference would be if you're traveling, west on Brent between Centennial and McCord or King. That area in there had the micro emulsification done. And then if you keep going on Brent a little bit further between Centennial or between Mitchaw and the township limits, that was a mill and fill. So you give you 2 real good indications on the same road what the difference would be, but the cost difference is dramatic. It would be approximately $750,000 to $1 million to resurface just silica both lanes, both ways, and we're going to extend the life of the road for $50,000 with that system. Some other good areas you could look at too is off of Erie Street. The city did last year, or this year I should say, this summer, they did a lot of that in their subdivisions.
Mm.
So, Eagle Trace in that area. So that was the OPWC and the micro on silica, and then the non-OPWC projects.
Before you move from the OPWC, that's just a budget number for 17, you don't?
For 16.
No, 16 you got a project, but 17.
17, we have a budget number as well for OPWC.
But you don't have an app approved for 17 or
No.
18?
It's been submitted, and
But you haven't heard back, correct? Okay. So those are just budget numbers. And if they're not enough, you'd take it from your non-OPWC? No?
Well, they're.
It looks like your match is going down to me.
Yeah, more communities are getting involved.
Yeah, that's what I'm guessing.
once
But if you applied for a grant and you needed more money, I mean, it's best to use the OPWC because you're getting a match. That's all I'm saying.
And they've changed the structure on that too, based on size.
Yep.
Because Monclova is now into the game for this. Monclova's been rubbed down for years.
in the past, we had some loans that were still paying off, but this is grant, and it's all structured by a rating system on how worthy the project is. Looks like Sarah, our engineer, she's doing a thing of the job for us, so getting us the grant. The non-OPWC resurfacing project for 2016, I'll provide you a list of those, it's approximately 2.54 miles. Of those 2.54 miles, primary resurfacing would be 1.53. And that's based off of the road condition report that Greg has been working on, that gives a rating basically of the road conditions and then visual inspection by the Lucas County engineers as well of what their recommendations are as far as resurfacing. As Scott noted, there was an increase in the funding for the non-OPWC resurfacing. I did a quick assessment of the last 10 years from 2005, I should say, to 2010. Our average resurfacing mileage was 7.01 miles during that period. And from 2011 to 2015, it dropped to 3.62 miles. So I tried to, with the funding availability, increase that mileage a little bit more this year. So we'll average roughly the same as we did between 2000, we'll roughly average around 4 miles this year instead of the average 3.62 from 2011 to 2015. And that will all be included in the end of year infrastructure report as well. So those are the resurfacing projects. Did I leave anything out, Greg? Some of the other infrastructure projects is that you're aware of it's not included in our budget, but you're aware of the 10 Mile Creek that does come out of the Stormwater Utility District funding. I think I may have it on one of the sheets just as an FYI, but it's not part of our budget. Some of the other infrastructure projects would include $50,000 worth of reimbursable money, which would be tile projects. On the sheet. For the stormwater utility district reimbursement as well. And I think if you guys can correct me, that money basically comes in, we send it out and then it's reimbursed through the stormwater utility district. So there's a fund set up to come in and a fund to go out.
You're budgeting 50 a year.
But your budget, you have to budget for it because it is considered an expenditure.
Now, on our sheet, Huntington Road is listed, but
Huntington Road is one.
it's more than that, isn't it?
Yes, Huntington Road is the primary one, but I do have some additional ones in here. Durbin to Mead would be a clean out.
Well, that's fine. You're going to give us that at the end of the year report.
Right, if you'd like a
Yeah.
copy of it though, and this is part of that continuing.
I don't need it if we're going to get it, do you?
If you want to know what the project's like.
No, I just figured it was more than Huntington.
Do we know how much money we have in the account for the 10 Mile Creek project?
It will, I met with Brian Miller at a water quality meeting a month ago. We'll have enough money. It'll probably be a $1.25 million project. And the amount of volume of earth removed will equate 1 square mile, 3 feet.
But we're not putting any money into the project.
But
That's the
it's
storm.
our stormwater.
It's the
Right.
storm.
Coming out of our
Yeah.
budget. I
Yeah.
mean, our residents are paying X
Yeah.
amount and they'll
Yeah, he's,
spoon feed it back to us.
yeah.
Well, just listening to last month's zoning commission meeting, they talked about that we had millions of dollars in the account, and that was misrepresented. And
Right, the stormwater utility has no, it's not ours.
I know that. I just
What
when
do
I
we-
heard
Maybe
Do you remember what we contributed, Neil? A year? I mean,
I'm with one of our, like, around 870,000.
Right,
I
correct.
think it's around 870,000.
a year that our community puts in?
Yeah, the
Wow,
township.
okay.
And Keith's been earmarking, that 50,000 is part of that. I mean, he's earmarking
Well,
that for.
that was the reduction
Sylvania.
this year, is why we went with the 50,000 is because of the excessive cost of the
Great.
10-mile correct. Last year, or this year, I should say, we were over 340,000 reimbursement.
I'll tell you, it's just bad timing, because boy, that dirt could have gone right on 475.
Well, it's
You know, the
so
balance,
good,
you know.
and it could be an EPA issue
Yeah,
as
that's true.
well when they pull it out.
That's true.
Well, any more on the infrastructure?
Just out of curiosity, but on that stormwater fund, following up on a couple of questions, if we're paying in about 800,000 a year, so that you kind of think, you know, and then have we ever kept kind of track on our projects that we have where we kind of call on that fund and how are we kind of faring? You know, it's, you know, some year we might spend $2 million and the next year spend 50,000. So over time, I'm wondering how, if, you know, because that's been happening now for about 5 years? Maybe 5 years?
The county should be able to give
Yeah,
us.
I was trying to think 5 or 3 or 4 at least.
I'd be curious, just,
Right, yeah, Diane, how much we've been reimbursed for the stormwater utilities each year?
Yeah, but
I mean, not now, but we can get that figure.
It
Lucas
might-
County actually has it on their website broken down, so you can go on Lucas County Auditor's website as well and pull it down.
it might be interesting for us to see that,
Yeah.
just to, I mean, again, it's going to fluctuate, but let's say over 10 years, let's hope that we're getting 800,000 back in projects, you know, because, you know, it'd be interesting to know, you know.
We will not receive equal amount of money back in projects because the county engineer's office is also meeting mandates by the EPA for outreach and education and testing.
Oh, okay, yeah,
So all
sure.
of that comes out of the stormwater
Okay.
district. And I think, Rob, some of your interior stuff you're dipping into, you know, like these ditch cleaning projects.
Yeah, I was just curious because I thought at the time when all that started, it was a little, I don't know about whether it's controversial or not, but
Oh, it was controversial.
oh yeah, there was some,
Okay, we had one guy that wanted to do it himself.
yeah, you know, I just was curious how we're kind
half the
of.
cost.
But that program is where it should be at the county level, in my opinion,
Yeah.
you know.
And it does have a they do have a breakdown of all the additional costs of that, besides just the infrastructure reimbursement money that we receive, that we participate in paying.
Okay.
Some of the other contractual items that are listed, if you have a copy of the 2016 annual task. Some of the contracts, we talked about the brush pickup, and then the annual stuff is preventative maintenance along with some upgrades into the infrastructure. I reduced a little bit of the concrete ADA work for next year, the expenditure in that. Greg has, over the last 5 years, did a great job bringing that up to standard. Whenever you go in to do a resurfacing project or any type of project that encumbers those intersections, you have to bring that up to county standards, state standards, which would include what you see there on the 223 on the ADA intersection upgrade. So we've actually, this year, upgraded the areas where we're projected to resurface in 2017. So that's how far ahead we are with that. So I reduced some of the funding in that to offset the other costs in the resurfacing areas. Emulsify patching and some of the other, for example, the crack seal program. Reduce some of the costs in that as well. So we just don't have the pothole problem that other communities have. We basically go out and we'll cut it out and repair it instead of patching it to the best of our ability. So some of those costs were deferred, and that money will basically be used in resurfacing as well. Other than that, unless you have any questions on any of those particular items.
Just on crack seal, is that going up, staying steady?
We reduced that from 100,000 to 75,000 based off what I just mentioned.
So that's unusual, you're ahead of the game then.
We are,
Yes,
in my
exactly.
opinion, Greg, we hit that pretty hard over the last 5 to 10 years, that crack sealing, emulsified patching, which is basically a tar and chip type item, which is more permanent than the cold mix that we do for the winter temporary fix.
Good.
And then there's also money built in the 223 for the emergency repair patch, where we would go out and we just either do it ourselves or we would use a purchase order to have it done. And that would be for smaller areas of resurfacing where you're just going to go in and you're going to take out 75 feet or something because it's just cobbled up. And some of those areas have been identified as well. And that's part of the total resurfacing projects. Miles-wise, as I stated earlier. And some of the other funding mechanisms that are in there are basically for the unknowns that happen every year. You can count on storm sewers collapsing, stuff like that. So that funding is set in.
Robbie did a much better job than Greg ever did.
And that,
Much more personable, too.
Greg who? Yes.
before we leave how's that cemetery road, could that be delayed?
It can be delayed and has been delayed. Greg had
It's
it.
not moving.
Greg had it on the program, I think, for at least last year and this year, and we didn't get to it. I think at some point, maybe we could do a partial, and that's what that was in there for. I
Well,
was hoping to go in
is
there.
that a resurfacing? That's what it
It
says.
would be a resurfacing, yes.
Could you use a micro resurface on that
Well,
or not?
I don't.
Or is
I
it
don't
too
think it'd
small
be-
to-
It's too small.
To even move in, probably set up?
There may be some base issues as well. The original road was not laid out and designed to be widened any much further than it already is. So the base would have to be, when you go to resurface it, you'd want to widen it. We did do some prep work last year. We removed some very large trees on the south end.
Is that all with our own forces, the resurfacing, or is that a contract?
We could do either or. We have not had paper out in several years at this time, and it would be something that we have to make a call on. But I think the money that is available for that, or could be available for that, could go either way.
And the reason we mothballed the paper is.
Well, yeah, I
because of the, force
For
accounts.
manpower and force accounts.
With the state laws now, it's,
Well, you probably don't have it. Well, if you're really paving, you probably don't have enough trucks. Is that an area, you've been talking to the city about that, haven't you, about teaming up, or, I don't think we both need a paver. I don't know which is the newest one, but,
We both have a SWAT van, we're both gonna have a paver too, I can tell you that much.
no, I don't think so. I personally don't think, we
Well,
need
the parking lot
pavers.
area would be definitely contracted out. I'd like to see
Yeah.
that contracted. That's going to be more of
Yeah,
a
that's
project where our guys would be
yeah.
able to conduct it out.
With your manpower, you're probably not capable of paving anymore. I don't think, but maybe I'm wrong.
Anything else?
Looks good.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. The last one we'll talk about today is the general fund, and basically the general fund is administration, zoning, finance, and administration. Once again, Greg talked about the revenue projections on that, and expenses. And then we'll open any questions on that.
All right, the general fund packet, again, top page is the 5-year projection. Next 5 pages are the line-by-line details. And then you have the general fund capital projects, budget is the last page. On the revenue side, we use a 4% increase in the real estate taxes for 2016, that's using the auditor's numbers. And then going on further, I just rolled that back to 2% because it's, I just can't count on the property values increasing like they did this year. So
Do we know what impact the annexations are going to have on us? I mean, like, what are we going to lose from Mayberry?
The only areas we lose is inside millage, if that happens, is
Well, it's
small
happening, so
inside- small inside millage, and that would be it as far as levies.
how much is that? Do you know?
The inside millage is only, I want to say 0.3 mils, and there's not even a mill. And that affects Greg's. Anyway.
Just the road department? Okay. What about general fund?
We're not really affected on that because the city of Sylvania does pay us the inside village as part of because it's part of the township.
Okay.
And so we wouldn't really lose much there. And because of the changes in the law because the police side will continue, we will not lose that.
John, is that, the police levy, is that, we keep that kind of forever, or does that go scales down?
Those levies, as they're voted on, are continuous levies, which means they stay on forever, and so
Okay.
they will not go down.
Okay.
Actually, the city rate's higher now, right?
Right,
Real estate tax rate.
right.
If you annex, you get a higher tax rate. Present,
With the income rate.
right?
So they pay both the city and the township's police levy. So those jurisdictions are going to be probably
They're correcting
They're-
that.
higher than anybody
Those
else.
are going out next week.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's something we picked up on about a year ago, and the auditor's correcting it, right?
And,
At least to our knowledge.
and yeah, that's what I've heard is going to be happening. And since we're talking about it, since it's ironic, is that the city had a taxing district already in effect that some parcels paid that tax already, police levy that were annexed, continued to pay it. Then they set up a taxing district where they didn't pay it. We don't understand. We tried to research why, but we don't understand why that ever happened. So now they're just correcting, the auditor is correcting all the people that have been annexed and did not pay the police levy will be paying police levy. Like some of the people had already had, so,
It was something like 190 parcels.
yes.
So
Do
it's
we have the ability to waive that, or I know we don't want to, but do
No,
we
this
have?
is a state.
State law.
Yeah, I want to make this very clear. This is nothing the township did.
No.
This is a state law. We don't have the ability to collect it, not collect it, whatever. This is under the state law, who pays taxes and where they pay them. So it's not something the township did. I want to make that clear.
Including when we didn't charge for it?
If you did that, you have the ability not to collect a levy, but not by parcels. So if you want to take a levy off, completely off everybody, yes, you can do that.
Okay.
But you can't say, these parcels don't pay it, these parcels do pay it, so it has to be uniform. So I just want to make sure, it's not something the township's done.
Yeah, the prosecutors is talking to the city. It's not gone very well. they're a little disappointed that this bill's out there.
Yeah.
So,
And that might change the way developers handle things in the future. I mean,
Correct.
move it into the city before you develop it rather than after.
right.
Okay.
Well, it's still,
No, still,
still township, they can.
Oh.
doesn't matter.
Yeah, once that levy's on, that's one of the changes in the law that occurred, I think, to, the state made it easier to annex,
Yeah.
but they also, to try to help townships a little bit, some of these levies stayed on and that, and so when the city, any city, not just Sylvania City, when they annex, these folks that were in the township, of course, or businesses, are still going to be paying our police levy tax, and which I think is good for us, of course. I don't know really who ends up, patrolling it. I guess we're being paid for it, so we probably will patrol it. But then the city may, I don't know. But that's up to them, I guess, if they want to do double duty. But so that tax still stays; it doesn't go away.
I mean, with the Blade report here, it'll be very clear again. It's not this isn't our
This
deal.
is statewide, and even in Lucas County, there's other jurisdictions other than Sylvania Township and that, where there was a perceived problem in collection of levies.
But-
The prosecutors work on that.
If they, would have annexed it as a field, and they would pay the field tax rate and then put 100 homes on it, would that, that's what I was trying to think about, would it impact?
I think their only way out of getting the tax with the township bill is for them to totally take the city of Sylvania and move out of the township. And what is it? There's a term you can do.
Conform the boundaries.
You can get totally out, but because it's not, and because they're within a township, they'll have to pay. They're paying the.
I think what John's wondering is that if you build there's a piece of just a farmer field, and then you build a house on it, what impact does that have on our levy proceeds?
No.
I don't have the answer for that, but I will find out.
John, I don't think so.
Isn't that what you're asking?
Yeah,
When
like
you
you
put
got
a-
a $50,000 lot and now there's a $500,000 house on it. Would they pay the police tax based on that $50,000 if it was annexed before they build it? And again, I think
That's a good question.
that's for another discussion for another
Yeah,
day.
because-
I will find out.
I don't think that's right, because think of all we're getting 100 homes a year. They're paying the tax based on the home,
I
not on
think
the
they pay the
vacant
value.
agriculture.
Do they?
Yeah,
That's
Yeah, no, it goes up. It's
yeah.
part of the
Yeah, I will
tax.
Okay.
confirm that.
Oh, I'm sure
It
that's-
was- It's the value of the property today.
I don't think the developer would get free.
Right.
Sorry for the
It's
interruption.
good
Good
that,
question.
well,
question.
it's good that the administration found that.
One of the
Pursued
things, and before we go on, one of the things
Agreed.
we've talked about this every year is the loss of the inheritance tax, which was a big blow to the general fund. And one time we were collecting anywhere from $700,000 to $1 million a year. We did get a little bit last year, as Mr. Simcoe pointed out earlier this year. We did get a little trickling, and the trustees saw that coming in the last few years, and kind of let it be known that we have to make the necessary adjustments to see what we can do. And we've reduced our size and staff and expenditures. And I think what you see here is when you look at even though the cash balance by 2020 has gone down, it's still healthy. And we made the necessary adjustments to go out at least to past that. And hopefully by that time there'll be some work done at the state legislature to help townships out. Now, whether I don't know, but I'm proud of what our staff has done and the trustees and everything. And knowing ahead of time we're losing revenue, let's make the necessary adjustments and see what we can do. And I think we have that.
And on the revenue side, the other big revenue item is general fund cable franchise tax. I just projected that flat, just to be conservative. On the expenditure side, for salaries, I just built in the same increase that the union folks are getting on the road and bridge for 16 and
the road and bridge department, didn't they have 25,000 in, is that the same number? Paving for the parking lot?
That's what it costs, so they have 25, and we have 40 already.
Yeah, I'm wondering what the
Yeah,
difference.
they're picking up some of the costs back there by the buildings.
Oh,
They're picking up-
I thought the money was transferred to them and they were doing the job.
No, we're using
Oh.
our share out of our capital.
Oh, I see. So it is a 40,000.
Yes.
They're paying 15 or
Whatever.
25. Yeah, I got you. Thank you.
We've got Daryl here for zoning, if you have any questions.
Well, I just got a comment on the water tap fees. Those are, the township for a while had a water sewer board and put in some improvements. I'm wondering if, when that money comes in, if we could earmark it for economic development or something.
Well, what we.
I don't need it today,
I know,
but you
that
guys,
money- The money comes into the general fund and anybody taps on those, what road is that up there?
Her,
no.
Silica?
Holt?
Oh, that's it.
Anybody taps into water out
But
there.
it's also Mitchell.
Yeah, pay us, and that money will come in the general fund. I will let you know, we got X amount of dollars, and then the trustees can make the determination what.
Well, if it just goes in the general fund.
Problem is, it has to come in the general fund.
Well, that's okay, that's okay. But then can we earmark it some way? That's all I'm saying, 3 or 4 years from now. I don't know, maybe, let's go back 3 or 4 years. How much, if we've taken in 100,000, whatever the number is. I know the number was substantial on the school system, right? When they tapped it on Mitchell. That would have been
Right,
a
but
big-
there was a break for the schools.
Well, I hope we didn't give it to them.
No, it was a.
But whatever.
Reduced rate.
Well, whatever, we still took some money.
Yeah,
And I guess rather than that money just going to general fund, I'm wondering if we could earmark it with some other account, future use,
well, we can let you know.
to
what
try to
the
help
dollars-
economic
We'll let
development.
you know what the dollar amounts are, and then as trustees, you can make the decision what to do.
Well, don't let us forget.
Well, no, when we get money tapped in,
Yeah, why don't you go back, could you go back and see what has come in the
Last 5 years, 4 years.
yeah, 5 years. What do you, I don't know, unless you guys think I'd just like to see it earmarked.
Well, we'll give you the dollar, and then we'll scale the policy.
Most of you know I oppose economic development from the government side of things, so I wouldn't necessarily put it there, but
Well,
I think we'll find a way to spend it one way or another.
Well, no, I don't necessarily mean that, like updating the land use plan. To me, that's economic development, that might be a way of funding. I just want to be sure we're just not putting it into general spending.
Salaries of the administrators and
Is there anything, speaking of the land use plan, is there something we don't have in here in budget?
that's a good point. Yeah.
I think that should be added myself. It's not in here, I don't
Right.
see it.
Would you like us to add a figure?
Yeah,
I think we'd at least want to cover half of it and things, so we get the ball rolling, and it might not
same
happen
number.
all in 2016, but at least we've got something
We can
earmarked,
add-
and we might be able to shuffle some
I'm
things around to
thinking
get it
50.
I'll
covered.
just throw a number out, should I have $30,000?
No, I-
15 or 20.
I think 15 myself, I don't know.
All right, well,
At least that gets us started, and
based on your recommendations, we'll go back and add 15,000 to,
wouldn't that be under contract?
we'll put it where it's appropriate.
I think it's under contracts,
We'll
under,
probably put it under the zoning.
yeah, 51,675, I think.
Okay, we'll make
I
it,
think that's where it goes.
Yeah, we'll correct that.
So this TIF financing, that's all the Kroger's there on,
Right, and that is a dollar in, dollar out.
so we're not, that's just a pass-through for us, right?
Yeah, to the dollar.
So why would you put that in as a revenue?
We have to because it comes in the general fund.
Oh, okay.
Is it listed as an expense then later?
Yeah.
It's down there as a.
Yeah, it's dollar for
And
dollar.
that first page near the bottom is TIF payout. And the first page.
Got it. Line 110,
Oh, yeah.
or 101, yeah. 101. They're all 101. All right.
Any other questions? Thank you.
John? It's
Good.
No.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thanks, good job.
Scott, appreciate all your hard work with us.
Yeah.
And John,
Oh,
of course.
I guess we'll have a motion to adjourn?
At 3:48.
Second.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Okay, we be adjourned.
Thank you.
All right.